Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame were probably the most grand movie events I'll experience in my lifetime. I can't think of another franchise or film series that could build up such a vast world and pull off such an incredible and satisfying conclusion. Still, no film is without its faults. I'm going to be breaking down the main problem of each movie and see how they could have been made better. So let's see which one's worse, Avengers Infinity War versus Avengers Endgame. So this is probably going to be my easiest wow segment because I really don't have any problems with Infinity War. My hot take when it was first released was that it lived up to all my expectations and everything they had been building it up to be. So which one's worse? Well, by that description, I'm sure you can figure out that it's Endgame. I wish I could say that was by default simply because both of them are so good, but Endgame has a lot more problems than Infinity War, which I again don't believe really had any. I think it is incredibly satisfying and is definitely worthy of being the #1 movie in the world. I mean, I went to watch it 4 different times in the theater, but the main reason why Endgame doesn't flow as well is because it shifts tones a lot. Infinity War has a nice tone progression. The characters start off confident and eventually lose that confidence. Endgame has a lot of serious scenes that are sandwiched between moments that should have also been serious, like the first time we see Professor Hulk or Thor, but instead they're just done for a joke. The most jarring tone shift is Captain America's ending. Not that I have a problem with it, I think this choice fits in his character arc. The only thing I do strongly criticize is the timing of it. Just 10 minutes ago, we saw another Avenger be mortally wounded on the battlefield, and now you're telling me Captain America is also essentially dead but got to live out a full, perfect life first? That doesn't seem fair. Compared to the other 2 main deaths, he really got off scot-free. He again deserves a happy ending, and I was really happy to see him get his dance, but I don't think he should have been at the center of this ending. The final shot of a movie is supposed to be something of significance, but this isn't Captain America's story. I think it would have been perfect to end it after Tony's message with the shots of all of the Avengers. I was also shocked to see them straight up forget about Black Widow during Tony's funeral. Could they not have put a badge or something down in her honor? Well, at least the ending wasn't something I disagreed with. I just think it could have been a lot stronger and properly respected the deaths of the other characters. If every moment was treated with intensity it needed, this film would have been so much better. I can't think of a single scene in Infinity War that you could take out that would improve the movie. Why do we need to make a joke about what happened to a lot of the Avengers after the 5-year marker? It feels so out of place, especially since the last film and the first 10 minutes of Endgame create a pretty bleak tone. Like, okay, we have a good time laughing at Thor, but in the next scene we see Hawkeye slit the throat of some random guy. Those two things don't go together. It's a common problem for Marvel movies to struggle balancing being serious and being funny, and Endgame is no exception because it goes back and forth a lot. I'm not claiming the humor in Infinity War is perfect, but the conflict lent itself to have a better progression of events. The humor naturally came from the characters, but it feels like when they were writing this one, they felt like it wasn't funny enough, so they had to go over the top with how pathetic Thor was or how randomly dumb Hulk is. It's pretty silly that I can say this movie, which wraps up all of these other films, has a scene where Hulk dabs. Just let that sink in. In Infinity War, they're coming together to try and stop Thanos. They move their plan around a bit, but that's basically the entire movie. It's a simple concept, but really exciting and interesting because the characters are interesting and given exciting things to do. They each have their moment to shine. Even though Endgame is centered around fewer characters, I don't feel like they all work together as well as they did in Infinity War. They didn't make sure each character had something significant to do that made them essential for the story. I mean, even Mantis had something to do in the fight against Thanos. It's important for a movie with this many characters to validate each character being there. I mean, heck, Captain Marvel straight up leaves after being in just a few scenes. But I get that she was established as a most powerful Avenger, so they needed to make an excuse for her to leave during this movie, otherwise we wouldn't have a movie. One of the main problems people mention with Endgame is all of the complicated time travel nonsense. I don't think too hard about the logic of their plan every time I rewatch it though, because it really takes me out of the movie. Obviously, there's a lot of flaws in their plan and some things happen which literally have no justification. Nebula doesn't tell Natasha and Clint that you have to make a sacrifice to get the Soul Stone. They are both totally surprised when they're told this. There's no reason why she should have withheld this information besides lazy writing, I guess, which is again pretty sad to think about because this is the last movie to wrap up all of these characters during this phase, and here we have Nebula keeping secrets because she felt like it. So I think Infinity War's problems are basically non-existent. Endgame could have been made perfect if they fleshed out their tone a little better by keeping it a bit more consistent. That could have been done if they hadn't gone back and forth from a serious scene to a humorous one as many times as they did, and also if they changed the ending to have a more bittersweet reflective tone, which would have matched the ending to this grand of a film franchise so much better. And finally, they definitely could have used some fine-tuning when it came to the complicated nature of their time travel plan. But can I basically forgive all of these things because the last third of this movie is quite possibly the best finale of any movie series? In short, yes. I'm not going to try and pretend I'm not a basic beach when it comes to Marvel movies because I am. This scene was the movie moment of my dreams, and I never anticipated that I would be given something of such quality, especially after sitting through 2 hours of a pretty messy story. However, everything that happens once Hulk snaps is fast-paced, full of energy and action. Each character is given their moment to shine, and they're all able to do things that are totally awesome. The characters work together, there's a lot going on, but you still get a lot of intimate moments on the battlefield. This is what Infinity War did so well in its entirety. I certainly wish Endgame was put together this perfectly during all of its 3-hour run, runtime, but to say this last third was worth the wait is a gross understatement. After the first time I watched this movie, I was interested to come back 3 more times because these last 50 minutes alone were well worth the price of admission. Was it interesting to see the different places they took the characters physically and mentally during the first 2 hours of the movie? Yeah, of course. But these are the kind of moments I live to see with the Avengers and the moments which Marvel does so well. Avengers Endgame might be worse than Avengers Infinity War, but I still love it 3000.